this is Angela of SpinachTiger.com. Today I'm going to show you how to make an old family recipe, Pennsylvania Dutch sand tarts. This is a recipe that I've combined with looking around at all the recipes, but it all started with my Aunt Rita's recipe box. You can see that she left me her recipes, and this is probably dating about the 1960s. And here is her handwritten recipe. So I'm going to show you quickly how we get all of this together. They're very easy to make. They're very hard to roll out. But once you make a couple batches, and you will make a couple of batches, you're going to see how easy it is. This is what we're going to be looking for, a very thin and crispy cookie. Did you hear that snap? You will be able to get the full recipe at SpinachTiger.com, but for now, let's get started because I think it's important for you to see how these are made. We're going to start with 3 egg whites, and we're going to beat those until stiff. Once the egg whites appear stiff, I'm going to transfer those into another bowl and set those aside because I want to use this bowl to start the batter. Now I'm going to add in my butter. That's got half a pound of butter or 2 sticks of unsalted butter, and there are no substitutes. Don't use any other kind of shortening. You have to use butter for this recipe. I'm going to whip up the butter for a few minutes and just get it nice and fluffy. I've had it out at room temperature. You just want to make sure it's soft. And I'm going to add my sugar. Typically, the recipe calls for 2 cups. I'm going to add 1 2/3 cups of sugar because I found the cookies to be a little sweet. And they're still plenty sweet with the 1 2/3 cups of sugar. We're going to get that whipped up together, and then I'm going to add my egg yolks. And the best thing you can do to separate your eggs is leave your eggs out to get to room temperature, and they're a lot easier to separate. Now we're going to add the vanilla. Now it's time to add those egg whites back in. When we incorporate the egg whites, you still want to see some white patches of those egg whites, so only mix just enough to where you can see some of the white patches because we're not going to overly mix the batter. Now that looks about right. We still can see a little bit of the white patches. And now we're going to add our flour. Add in only half of it initially, about 1.5 cups, and mix that. Now we're going to add the rest of it in. Now the batter's done, and I'm going to take a large plastic bag and I'm going to divide my batter into 3 sections and flatten it out and put it into the refrigerator. And the reason I want to flatten it out is when I get it out and I'm going to be ready to roll, it's going to be a little easier to work with. You could even separate this into 4 sections and work with just 1/4 of a section at a time. Now I've done 3, and I'm going to make a disc out of this. The flatter that you can get them right now, the easier they're going to be to work with when you take them out of the refrigerator. So there we have our discs. They're going to go into the refrigerator overnight. Okay, now we can come back to me. Good job. For a minute. Okay, I took out those round discs and I rolled them out flat, and then I put them back in the refrigerator again because we just want to keep the dough very, very cold so that we can roll it thin and not have it fall apart because there's a lot of butter in this recipe. I like to use this wooden French rolling pin. I'm going to get my scallop, which is this is the typical shape that you see in the Pennsylvania Dutch sand tart. We're going to bake these at 350 for 9 to 10 minutes, but do one test cookie. Check your oven and check your baking pan. I have 2 baking pans and they bake completely differently. Any dough that I haven't used, I'm going to put immediately back into the refrigerator. Now I've taken an egg white, mixed it up with about a tablespoon of water, mixed it up really well, and I'm going to brush the egg white because that way the cinnamon will stick. Typically they get a pecan, or you can put just a piece of a pecan because some of these are little. A whole pecan might be too much. You can make that decision. I noticed that the kids do not like the nuts, so make half and half is what I would say. You know, all of them are going to get a little bit of cinnamon sugar because I think that gives it that, well, that's why they're called sand tarts. Now, just for fun, especially the ones the kids are gonna, they really like to see sprinkles. They do. Well, put a little bit of green on the trees, okay? These are gonna go in the oven, and I'll be back to show you what they look like. Okay, I pulled these out of the oven. It took about 9 minutes in this particular pan. I use a cookie spatula. Notice, again, it's really, really thin, so it's easy to slide the cookies out. They go on a rack. And then my suggestion, completely cool before you touch them or they're gonna fall apart. Oh, this is a nice one. I like them a little crispy like this. See, super thin. Try
that one.
Okay, great, perfect.
We're getting all of them this time.
Perfect. Yeah. Perfect.
After this, can we make a train track?
Sure. Challenging as far as
look what I did.
dough
I just
because
did
we want it soft. Hey, look at that. Okay, perfect.
I spatulaed it out.
You spatulaed it out. Okay. A little bit on some of them.
Here, Lala. One's
Pecan
more.
ones.
Let's
We'll put
go.
cinnamon sugar.
Oh no! Look
And
at the
then
cookie.
we'll, for some of them, we'll put a little bit.
Next, Lala accidentally dropped it in the egg. Ah!
That's okay.
That's gonna be funny when I get it out of there. Then you put a little. No. How about we mix it together with cream? You can mix it together.
So here we have it. Cookies for Santa. Merry Christmas, everybody, and don't forget to visit spinachtiger.com. Cooking fierce food a woman will love and a man will marry her for.